Good morning. I'm Kent Garrett reporting from Roxbury, New York. It is Tuesday, June 30th, and you are listening to another edition of Resist. Yesterday, the Supreme Court, just over 4 months before the 2026 midterm elections, upheld a Mississippi law that allows mail-in ballots to be counted as long as they are postmarked by and received within 5 days of Election Day. Here's more on that story from the Young Turks website.
President Trump suffered a major loss at the Supreme Court, and this one's a doozy. It's really important because it affects our elections and our democracy. So Anna, tell us about it.
Yes, in fact, shockingly, and I did not expect this myself, the Supreme Court's majority actually decided to slap down Trump's challenge to mail-in voting. And the determining justice, the person who broke the tie, Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who of course was nominated by President Trump in the tail end of his first term. So let's get to the details here because this has to do with a Republican-led attack against mail-in voting and these states having the right to determine what their mail-in voting laws are. So this outcome maintains current state level mail-in ballot laws and spares elections officials from having to, deal with the headache of changing their rules and changing their laws as we have just a few months left before we head over to the midterms. Now, the ruling upheld a Mississippi law allowing election officials to count mail-in ballots received up to 5 days after the election day. That doesn't mean that people voted after election day. It means that they submitted their mail-in ballots and election officials didn't receive it until after election day. Now, if they received it up to 5 days after election day, those ballots need to be voted on or needed to be counted as part of the official tally. Now, the Supreme Court ruled 5-4 in the Watson versus RNC case with Justice Amy Coney Barrett, as I mentioned earlier, siding with the majorities. In fact, Coney Barrett wrote the majority opinion, which I'm sure enraged Trump even more. Now, those who supported the current mail-in ballot laws as they stand, Justice John Roberts, Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Brown Jackson, as well as Amy Coney Barrett. And in her majority opinion, Barrett said the following. She said that Congress could change the law if varied deadlines for ballot receipt similarly call for a national solution. The American people must choose it through their elected representatives. So in other words, if you want to formalize a national standard as it pertains to mail-in voting, it needs to be done through Congress, okay? But here's the really interesting thing, guys. Remember, in 2020, after Trump had lost the election, there were efforts to pass certain election laws that Republicans weren't in favor of because Republicans wanted states to continue to have their rights in how they carry out elections. The way that this mail-in ballot law was being challenged, it would essentially formalize a national standard which Republicans claimed that they were against. Now, Justice Samuel Alito, who wrote the dissenting opinion, said the following. Alito argued that the decision could threaten election integrity and increase the risks of fraud. He said that the majority based its decision on a flawed understanding of the Election Day statutes. Election Day is a specified date, not a span of multiple days. But what Alito seems to totally downplay is the fact that these are Americans who voted before Election Day. It's just, and the ballots are postmarked before Election Day. It's just that the election officials in the state didn't receive the ballot until, again, up to 5 days after Election Day. So they're postmarked before Election Day.
So guys, normally I'll explain to you both sides of a case in a situation like this and say, here's the argument in one direction, here's the argument in another direction, and here's why it came out this way. Sometimes it'll be close, sometimes Trump will win and he's not necessarily wrong, and I explain that. Some might get annoyed, etc. It's very rare, but it's happened a couple of times, and I think that they've been generally right. So in this case, the 4 conservative justices that voted in the other direction Just utter nonsense.
Utter nonsense.
Like they're not even trying to make an argument. So the vote is so important, but 750,000 people's votes came in, like they mailed them before election day, but they came in after election day, right? So you would disenfranchise 750,000 Americans. So if you were saying that voting is so important, well, you're doing the opposite, so it doesn't make any sense, right? And then conservatives are supposed to care about states' rights judicially, and legally. And this takes away states' rights.
Yes.
So elections are the purview of the states. And what Amy Coney Barrett is saying is, in rare cases, Congress could set national standards, but it would have, if it goes to the federal level, it is definitely Congress. The executive branch has nothing to do with these types of elections. So that is super clear. That is why she and John Roberts voted with the liberal justices, because the law is so crystal clear. And the conservative justices' answer was basically, whatever, dude. We want the Republicans to win. Screw states' rights, screw the law. Yeah, we don't like it. So we think it's unconstitutional. That's not a thing, man. It's embarrassing.
And also, Justice Samuel Alito says, well, this could increase fraud. I mean, we've had mail-in voting for a while now. I mean, you could bolster your argument by showing examples of widespread fraud that actually has an impact on the outcome of elections, but that doesn't exist because that hasn't happened. You get what I'm saying? So it's just, you're right, Jake. I mean, the conservative justices who were against states allowing for the tally of mail-in ballots that came in after, postmarked before election day, but came in after election day. They don't have an argument, you're right. Now, Trump is enraged by this, enraged by the ruling. And so here's what he posted on Truth Social. In light of the tremendous loss in the Supreme Court today concerning voters' rights, and the fact that people's votes are allowed to be counted long after an election is over. He's obviously engaging in hyperbole there, but whatever. It is more important than ever to pass the Save America Act, which is all voters must show photo ID, all voters must show proof of citizenship, no mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military deployment, or travel, and then he goes on.
That was a report from the Young Turks website. I'm Kent Garrett for Resist.